Not your average tabletop. Woohoo!
Welcome to Not Your Average Tabletop. I'm Zach.
I'm Mac.
And today we're giving our first impressions of Carpe Diem.
Mm-hmm.
And I think this is like the first edition, or one of the first editions. There's like 100 editions of this game, I think, even though it only came out like a few years ago. It's probably been like 5 years ago now, but it seems like only a few years ago that it came out. And yeah, this one's from Stefan Feld. So
2018, 2017.
Yeah. So it's been a long time.
8 years.
It's been a while. So yeah, it just gets a new edition like every other year. So
Popular.
Yeah, it's one that I've been interested in because I think it nominated or won. Maybe it doesn't say in here. I thought it either won or got nominated for the Kennerspiel or something, some award. So I was like, that sounds interesting. And yeah, with my recent love of Castles of Burgundy from the same designer, Stefan Feld, I was like, I really kind of want to try these new games out. And I think, what was it, Prime Day deals had this for like $15. So I was like, it's worth trying out. It looked like a tile placement game, and I'm like, it seems like a fun kind of thing because it reminded me a little bit of Castle of Burgundy, where you're getting tiles and placing them out on your kind of board and stuff. Maybe not quite the same level as that, but
sure.
Reminded me of it a little bit. So, but yeah, this was one that I wanted to try out, and yeah, we played it once at 2 players, and it was pretty simple, which I think a lot of his games are known for. We haven't played too many of his games. Most of them, I think, are like out of print and are now reprinted by Queen's Games for like $100 a game. So we don't have too many of them, but we've also played Notre Dame, and I think all of those, Castle Burgundy, this, and Notre Dame, have kind of a simplicity to them of what you can do during your turn.
Mm-hmm.
But kind of all of them too have some kind of planning, at least a little planning in advance.
Some kind of an overarching.
What do I want to What do I want to complete during this game?
Yeah.
Which I don't know. I really like that because it's like you've got a goal to work towards usually in your head, and then all of them kind of too have that like, well, this ain't gonna work. This plan that I really want to do, now I got to come up with something else in a way to get points.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, I think this one had that as well. So I liked what it did. I think and maybe it's just because it was a 2-player game of it. Felt like I wanted to get more. Felt like I wanted to do more, which I guess is very similar to Castle of Burgundy. It's always like, I want to fill in this board, and
yeah.
I think it's been mathematically proven that you cannot fill in the board, or at least not. Maybe you can with like the some new expansion tiles, but originally you could not fill in the board, even if you had the perfect game. Never will let you get the perfect game.
It's not made for you to fill it in. It's made
and
for you to
one,
optimize.
And this one I feel like is the same way, where you're just not going to get it perfect. And you can throw away tiles in this game, which you did, and you still won. Didn't you?
I did. I smacked you.
You did smack me pretty badly. And I think going into a new game of this one, I'd have to be much more aware. There's these kind of goal cards that are set up at the beginning of the game. And I found out from that first play that it is probably the biggest thing you want to focus on.
Brutal. Real brutal when you're taking negative points.
You don't even know the worst of it.
Okay.
I took negative like almost
after
every
round 1, I wised up and I was like, we ain't doing that again.
I apparently didn't learn that until the final round.
We ain't doing that again.
Yeah. I did not learn that until the final. Maybe not even the end of the game. I didn't learn it until. But yeah, the tile placement part where you're moving a meeple from one to the next, I think it's cool because you can kind of be like, okay, if I go to that, then I can. You know which ones you've got options to the next time, and it's like, I can either take that or that, so I'll be good if I take this one, because I've got 2 options that I want, just in case my opponent, goes and takes one. But then, in a 2-player game anyway, so it's like, I don't know if I'd call them a Zool thing. They're not really a Zool, but the places that you go into have 4 tiles in them, and once 2 have been taken in a 2-player game, the other 2 are just discarded. And I don't know that I loved that. I guess it's very easy to forget that would happen, and you're thinking, I'm going to be able to get this, and all of a sudden, nope, those are wiped clean.
You must have been thinking real hard, because I think that only happened to me one time, where I was like, I was like, oh no.
I think it's just because I wanted to do too much. I'm like, I want to get that tile and that one and that one.
Yeah, but you only
don't
get
that.
like,
You don't get that many tiles.
How many tiles do you get? Like 4 around
Probably.
or something? It was.
I mean, it's just like Notre Dame, where you get to do 2 actions around, and so you don't get many. You don't get many in any of his games. It seems like you don't get enough actions.
No, but then you gotta.
You gotta score these cards.
With whatever you managed to get.
That are just nasty.
At least they let you substitute bread and gold.
That's true. And yeah, I never wised up to that, but I don't know if, I'd have to play it more. We've only played it one time. I would really have to see how focused you have to be on those goals. Because if it feels like your whole game has to be focused on those goals every time, I don't know that I would love that.
But that's hard, though, because
you
can't guarantee your placement always. Because once a spot is taken, you can't take it again. You have to adjust from there. So you can't go through and say, I'm going to get this one, this one, this one, and this one. You're going to have to be able to pivot if someone takes a spot that you had. So you kind of have to have, I don't want to share my strategy, but you have to kind of have a couple of options for placement.
Right. But like when we were looking at it afterwards, I was like, well, I should have known like these 2 cards. So the way the cards are laid out, they're like next to each other, and you're covering half a card.
Yeah.
So the ones in like the center spots.
Oh yeah.
You probably want to focus on those. And I'm just worried that if it feels like, I've got to focus on those any game that I play. Like, whatever's in those center spots, you got to focus on.
Sure.
I don't know that I would love that. But I guess if everyone's going for it, then the tiles for whatever gets you those things are probably going to be even more difficult to get.
It's true. It's very true.
So I don't know. It'll be interesting to see kind of how it evolves with more plays. And whether, I think that could very much change my score one way or another.
Probably.
So, yeah, I think after the one play, probably put it 7. 7 seems maybe just a tad high for me. Because I think in my head I compare it to Castle Birdie, which we watch our top games of all time. It's my favorite game of all time currently. And obviously that makes it very difficult to compare it because it isn't the same. But it's just from the same designer.
They're not even close.
Right. So it's just got that high standard for me. But yeah,
it could be Stefan Feld.
It could be a 7, maybe leaning down towards like a 6.5, 6.75. But like I said, I think with more plays, that would really determine which way that would go.
Yeah.
Based on how that ends up feeling.
Mm-hmm.
And kind of the meta of the game. Like if all of a sudden everyone knows, you got to go for those cards, you got to go for these tiles. Be interesting to see how that actually affects everything. I don't know. Yeah,
it would be really hard, I think, if you had 4 players at the table and 1 or 2 others were going for the exact same thing that you were, because I think there was a couple of times when me and you were gunning for the same tiles, and that was a little bit difficult. So having 4 people around the table, sure, there's still more tiles that are accessible, but in a round, you might only get one option out of Gold Roof if that's the only Gold Roof that comes out. So that can be pretty, like, if one comes out next time, it's got to, and if you need a 2-sided one or a 1-sided one or a gold side with a specific color on the other side, like, you're going to run into some trouble. So definitely, I think when you play more, like, knowing what tile combos will come out, like, does it have a red roof and a green roof? Does it have chickens and a red roof? Like, what can I maybe expect to come out? That maybe would be a little bit helpful.
Because I think Castle Burgundy was one that definitely has grown on me. I don't think
it's your number of one game.
Well, I mean, I don't think I ever hated it, but like when I first played it,
sure,
I think I felt differently about it than I do now, like 50 plays deep. So I think I'm in a different position. I'm not saying we're going to play this one 50 times, but I mean, I'm sure I'm going to think of this one differently if we played it 50 times.
Yeah.
And it'll be interesting to see how that plays out. Yeah. I guess, did you give it
I didn't rate
score or thought?
Yeah, I would probably give it a 7. I agree it's maybe a little high, but I wouldn't say it's like a 6 either. So I'm gonna give it the 7 and reserve the ability to move it after it plays.
Nice. Yeah, we're gonna put an unboxing video up alongside this, so you can check out the stuff in there.
Some really great components.
I will say the component quality. I mean, it's
Could be
it's
worse.
fine. It's fine quality,
Could be
but
worse.
it's not inspired. The art isn't
Yeah.
the most inspiring.
No.
It's not the worst either, but it's.
Have you seen Notre Dame?
The worst part.
Just yeah.
The worst part is I don't know with any of the additions if it ever got better.
They
I'm
had
not
a
sure.
chance. And
Let
they
me know in the
didn't
comments
take
below
it.
if you have like the newest version of this. If it's like, oh, this is amazing quality. I don't know that it actually has.
Oh, man.
I think they've made like
Funny.
minor changes here and there, so maybe the buildings might.
They got
some
some
of them
good
might be a little
resources
clearer.
and like little player
Yeah,
meeples.
the resource stuff is really good. So I don't.
But yeah,
I
the
don't
rest
know.
of it's kind of.
I don't know.
It's all right. It
It's
passes.
fine. It's fine.
There's worse ones out there.
There are
Yeah.
much worse.
Yeah.
But yeah, is that everything you got to say about this one, or
I
was there
think
anything
so.
else that stood
Carpe
out?
Diem.
Carpe Diem. What's that? Seize the day.
Yep.
Yes, I knew it for once.
So proud of you.
But if you made it this far in the video, give us a thumbs up, subscribe for future content when we eventually get all those Queen Game versions of Stefan Feld's games and play them all and rank them all.
I'm sure they're in the mail.
Yes, you'll have to be there for that years and years down the road. Even though the longer we would wait, the more there are going to be in that city collection. So
Set yourself up for failure.
there's no way to win. But otherwise, we hope to see you on our next video. And as always, don't forget to keep on nibbling on our content.